Hey everybody, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host Caleb.
I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
Alright, we are kind of in a hurry this week. Although it is a pre-recorded, we are still have things to do today, unfortunately. Um, so we're just going to kind of get right into it. We're going to skip our usual talking about what we've been up to this week. If you want the briefest version of it, I've been playing 76. I've been writing some stuff for the game, for D&D games, and maybe a Star Wars game.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and I've lost character sheets, so having to rewrite some. Still have Blade, so we're good on yours.
Yeah. Still have mine. Like, I have the copy you sent me.
Yeah, John apparently, I guess, didn't keep his own copy, so I don't have a copy either. So we have to remake his.
Anybody else having problems with that?
Well, I obviously Constance has been no contact for a minute, so I think they're not in the game.
Probably not.
But that's fine. I did find two other people.
Oh, alright.
Kayla's potentially in.
Okay.
And something I've been wanting to do for a while. Seth and Seth.
Oh, you found him.
I got John to ask him.
We operate on Highlander rules. You know that.
I got John to ask him. So now we're going to have two Seths in a Star Wars game. We have yet to have the Seths combined. So, is it going to be like kind of Dragon Ball where y'all like...
If one defeats the other, they
Well, I was thinking more like Dragon Ball where y'all have to...
do the whole fusion dance.
Do the fusion and y'all fuse. Will we get a Seth fusion? It won't get a cool name because you're both Seth, so it's just the Seth fusion.
You just add another S at the front.
No, to do the Star Wars cloning thing, we add another E because you have to add a vowel. So it's Seth. But it's still pronounced Seth. Because that's how it is in the with the clones thing for Thrawn, for the old Thrawn books and legends. Is it has like there's the Luke clone that has an extra U, but it's still pronounced Luke, not Luke. Anyways, that's the really brief recap of what I've been up to. Really brief recap for you.
I've just been playing Bloodborne, and I got locked out of an area that I could go to earlier because the enemy wouldn't fucking spawn that's supposed to send me there.
That sounds right. All right. With that, let's just jump right into Star Wars news. We only have one piece of news, which is actually multiple pieces of news, I guess.
Yep.
It's just the comic recap of what's been announced for July and kind of a brief roadmap of what's coming up. Sounds exciting, because we're finally going to be done with the Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi era. So many Star Wars fans are going to be happy. So many Star Wars comic book reader fans, I should say.
We've been in it for a while now.
It feels longer than it has. Like that, I think it's because there have been so many crossover events that it feels longer than it has been. Because this is about the same number of issues that the 2015 run had for mainline Star Wars, although Vader, they ended around 25. But then they did a 2017 run, which was like a prequel run. Takes place just after Revenge of the Sith. We'll get to it. That's going to be next season stuff, I think. Either next season or the end of this season. We'll talk about it. I think it's the end of this season. We'll talk about the first 2 volumes of it. Anyways, the roadmap has currently for July. This is all according to Star Wars Newsnet as well as Looper. This information. It looks like the two new miniseries are debuting. One is the Inquisitors one that we talked about last week. I think it was last week we talked about it. It was either last week or the week before. Yeah. Anyways, Inquisitors run is starting in July. Ahsoka an adaptation of the TV show, so comic book version of it, because all the Disney Plus shows have been getting comic adaptations. Y'all already know my opinions on that. I gave my rant last week, so this week we're just gonna move forward and go. Okay, Ahsoka is getting its one. That makes sense, based on previous how they've done it. Piggybacking off of that, I'm gonna currently give like exact quotes because this is like Star Wars Newsnet kind of both theorizing off of information we have as well as giving actual confirmation of things. So a bit of theorizing is that recent trade back information for Star Wars and Darth Vader point to both series ending at issue 50. So, okay. And we should be getting issue 48 or 49, I think it was, in July for both of them. I think it's 49. 48. Okay. So let's see. So that's July, August, September. So September will be the end of both of those if that is correct information. Which will also definitively end the Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi era, where it's like in between for comics, because everything else has already been canceled. Everything else has already ended. Bounty Hunters has ended. Ahsoka's Afra's ended. So no other ongoings are happening. So it's just those two. So further trade back information has revealed the Acolyte is getting a one-shot comic. We don't have more information on that yet. So both of those are kind of... So the Star Wars Darth Vader one is kind of speculation based off trade back information. Same, Acolyte is also off trade back information. So all three of those are technically speculative, but there's a lot of evidence towards it. So we can take it with some salt, but we don't need too much salt on this one. There's some believability to it, right? The one that Looper revealed is that April 20, that on yesterday when we're filming,
Yeah.
they gave a Darth Maul black, white, and red preview. So
okay.
probably what happened is they probably just have some of the art. They don't, because when you get a comic book preview, they only show the art. They never show like the dialogue, because then you get stuff ruined. Not that it matters in this case, because Black, White, and Red's whole thing is that it's supposed to be like mini stories within. It's supposed to be like the comic book version of a short story collection. I don't know what a comic book short story is called. I don't think it has its own subgenre. Because we know what a comic book is, and then we know what a mini series is, and an ongoing, but we don't know what a short story version is called. So I just call them comic book short stories. Because that's essentially what they are. And then we also got, for the books coming in August, Crash and Burn and Echoes of Fear, they are currently going for solicits from Dark Horse. So comic book, I think it's comic book vendors that mostly can do that, because they haven't said pre-order, they say solicit. So I think that's comic book shops that can go, hey, we want those comics at our shop, right? So a little bit of a refresher. We got Inquisitors July 3rd. High Republic issue 9 is coming out July 3rd, and then Ahsoka number 1 is July 10th. Star Wars number 48 and the High Republic Adventures number 8 are July 17th. The final, what I believe is the final issue, the final issue for Saber for Hire, which is your High Republic Adventures. That's your Tyoric one. That's going to be along with Darth Vader number 48 on July 24th. And then, they've already been doing Darth Maul Black and White and Red, so that preview was probably for the issue that's coming out July 31st, which is the last issue of the Black, White, and Red for Darth Maul. That's not right. Hold on. No, it's probably for 2, 3, and 4, because only issue 1 has come out. Sorry. My brain's like, wait, dates aren't lining up. But yeah, the last thing we'll get in July is the last issue of Black, White, and Red for Darth Maul. So, that's comic book news in a nutshell. Sounds exciting. We're getting a lot of new stuff, but we're also ending some stuff that, honestly, it's about time to move on from. I am curious where they go next, though. Where do you go from after you've done because that's the entire original trilogy era. Do you move forward? Which is what I would hope. I assume that's what you're hoping for, because I know how you are. You're like, let's move forward, not backward, right? So I would assume the next step, if they go with the way you want, would be a between 6 and 7, the Mando era sort of deal, right? Mm-hmm. That would be one way they could go. The other way they could go is they could go in between episodes 1 and 2, which is another era we don't have a lot in. We kind of got through that part of the era pretty quickly. This is the last piece, I think, of the in between that era, actually, in fact. I can double check that, but I believe this is the last thing that's in between episodes 1 and 2. Today's topic is the last piece of that. Where did I put it? Sorry, I'm pulling up our schedule. Yeah, it's the last thing that's for that era, because the next few weeks are things that are new coming out that are not part of that era, this era that we're doing. So, because we'll talk about what next week's is, but like, we got next week's topic, which is new. We got the next 2 weeks, which are 2 new shows to talk about. That one of which is one that we could have been talking about, but we don't. The way we normally schedule it, we don't talk about stuff till a season's ended.
Yep.
So the next 2 weeks after that are 2 new shows, and then the week after that is a High Republic trade paperback, and then the week after that is a 25th anniversary for Phantom Menace, and then Comic Book Day the week after that, and then finally Attack of the Clones. So, yeah, this is the last piece of material between Phantom Menace and Attack of Clones, which I think it was what? If we just talk about the pieces that are actually in between, it's Obi-Wan and Anakin, that Obi-Wan and Anakin adventure one where we flip through, and then this. I think that's really it of stuff that actually takes place in between. Everything else we talked about has been like new stuff coming out, like Living Forces before Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is an era that actually could be filled with stuff if they want to go back. So they have a couple options. I think if I were to speculate which one they'd choose, right? Because I think that's the fun of this type of game, like this, doing a podcast is speculating a little bit. If I were in the room, I would think the direction they go is forward with in between 6 and 7. Because that's kind of stuff that Mando is filling some of the gaps of, but it's also stuff that it feels like that they want to hype up that era because of Mandalorian specifically. Because like we're getting Mandalorian, we got Ahsoka, we got Book of Boba Fett, we got the Mando and Grogu movie that's coming out, and we've got the Rey movie coming out that's after the sequel movies. So that's like a bunch of stuff that's like lined up where I guess for PR strategy it makes sense to do 6 and 7 as the next in-between era, not 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But we'll see what mainline Star Wars does. That also means though no more Vader comics at all. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're gonna find a way. They'll find a way to do a Vader comic. They always do. But yeah, so that's it for news. Let's talk about today's main topic. Dooku Jedi Lost. We will specifically be talking about the audio drama itself, not the script, because this is a script format. Spoiler warning.
For the whole book.
For the whole thing. Whole enchilada.
Yep.
Alright. I'll let you guide the first topic because I think you have some thoughts. I'm gonna bet that you have a lot of thoughts because you tend to lean closer to Dooku's ideology.
Yeah, there's a few times in this book I'm like, okay, Jedi Masters, the fuck do you care? This ain't none of your business. How about you fuck off?
So let's go ahead and let's talk about your favorite parts as well as your least favorite. I guess we'll start with least favorite, and that way we can end off on the happy notes, right? So, what's kind of your least favorite parts of this?
I don't.
Besides it being an audio drama.
You're not that bad. You're framing me as if I hate audio dramas.
No, you hate audiobooks. You're right.
Yeah, you're fucking right. you use audiobooks, you're lazy.
No,
Put in
that's
that.
not. No.
That's a bit much.
Yeah, that's a bit much because there are people who
It's called
have.
sarcasm.
Yeah, there are people that have to use
Yeah,
audiobooks.
like if
and
I understand the world is a busy place, I should know I have to work within like an hour or two.
yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, at least like what do you not really like? It might not ruin the experience for you, but what did you not enjoy as much?
so while talking in the car,
Oh, we talked about voice actors, or was it the?
it was that. I don't actually mind how Dooku sounds. Like,
Yeah, because so I said in the car on the way here, I think everybody in this audio drama comes off like the characters that they're supposed to sound like. Like they sound like to me, they ring true. Dooku's did not. He sounds a bit younger, even for like. Put this into perspective. This is only about a year. Like the main because they use a framing device. In this where you have the framing device of Asajj. Asajj is truly the main character of this. And the framing device is Asajj is looking into Dooku's past.
Mm-hmm.
And while Dooku is, I guess they're really deuterologist. Deuteragonist. Yeah, thank you. Where they're both the protagonists.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really Ventress. And so the way they do it is they have Ventress look into information. Usually she finds like a hologram or something.
Dude, they gave her a bunch of like recorded phone calls between him and his sister.
Or she'll get secondhand information, like at the end. The last piece of information she gets is, once again, we gave the spoiler warning, but once again, if you don't want it, spoiler warning now. This is from 2017, I believe. 2016, 2017. So it's old, but also like, in case you wanted to check it out, at the end of the day, I say check it out. If you don't mind reading a script, they have a physical version of it, and it's literally a script. Because it's supposed to be an audio drama, so like it reads as a script, so like kind of giving you an idea of what it looks like. But if you don't want that, then there is the actual audio drama, which is what we experience. Because when it comes to audio dramas, I think that is when they release it as an audio drama, we should listen to it as an audio drama because that is the format they obviously wanted us to listen to, right? So that's why for the show I make him do it, but. Otherwise, he'd probably read the script, knowing him.
Yeah. Which would have probably provided some slight clarification.
I think it was easy to tell voices, but...
No, because of sometimes dialogue is not addressed properly to certain people, which leads to me being very confused about, like, one of the major plot points.
Oh, yeah, because we talked about that.
Yeah.
Is that going to be one of your least like points?
No, it's not my least like. It's just it takes on a different context.
Yeah,
for the story.
It made you think of a character in a certain way that was incorrect based on does it make more sense now that you know who?
No, it makes less sense.
So the context. I thought it was clear specifically because Sifo Dyas is not in that scene at all. Sifo Dyas is not in the scene that's revealed.
He's not. But I'm like, which confused me at the time because I'm like, wait, why wouldn't you tell him?
No, it makes more sense that it's a Wrath. Okay, we're just gonna jump into this plot point because we're already talking about it.
The spoiler warning.
Arath is Lean Castana's son.
Yes.
Right? And the reason that it makes more sense than what you thought, which was Sifo Dyas being her son. One, Sifo Dyas isn't there when the discussion is going on. He's not even part of that investigation that's going on, which is that Dooku's trying to figure out who blew up his brother's speeder bike during the speeder bike race. Ramil, who blew up his speeder bike. And so Sifo Dyas should not even have been in your thoughts at this point.
So confused.
And then otherwise, also, Arath is the one who keeps owing gambling debts. And they bring up that that's the reason that what's her name, the villain for that arc, that little segment of the book, is like why she's like working with why she has Jedi insiders because Arath has gambling debts to her, And then the reason that he has insider information for who to connect to a Jedi Council member is because his mom's a council member.
I thought those were... I thought...
That's all part of the same plot going on.
Okay, I thought those were two separate plot points. And I was really confused. Because I was like, okay, so you're covering for Arath because he fucking knows that you're Sypho's mom?
No, that he knows that she's his mom, and he's using the family benefits of, hey, mom, help me out.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yes. And it's like, hey, mom, help me out by looking the other way from the people I owe money to. Does that help it?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, how does it not make sense that it's a Wrath?
When you go in operating under the false pretense.
Sifo Dyas isn't even there!
I know!
He's off with Lean having adventures. Braylon is his mom. I said Lean earlier. Master Braylon, who is on the council, is Arath's mom. Lean Castana is not related to anybody. She's just off having adventures with Sifo Dyas and making sure he doesn't go crazy. It's not going well.
No, it's not working. They're trying. It's not working.
Yeah. How do you feel about Sifo Dyas after this? Because I know during the living... Because this was where you really got to learn about who Sifo Dyas is as a character. Because really all the information you've ever had about Sifo Dyas is, one, he's the guy that bought the clone army for the Jedi. Because...
Yeah.
So we know that. And then secondly, we just know that he, Dooku at some point kills him and starts using his name to do shit under his name. Actually, Dooku bought the clone army under Sifo Dyas' name. Although Sifo Dyas was gonna do that. That was part of Sifo's plan. Just not to do what Dooku did with them. And then the other thing is Living Force. That's really about it for your knowledge of Sifo Dyas until now.
At the end of, last time we talked about it, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And I thought I would dislike him immensely, but I can't. I just kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah, we talked about it. He has the Cassandra effect.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Where he keeps just having visions, and they are 99% accurate.
Yeah.
Actually, no, they're 100% accurate, because every vision Sifo has is accurate. It's Dooku that has some inaccurate ones, because Dooku has that blended one when they're caught by the presages.
Yep.
Or they pronounce it presages, but it's presage is the joke. They're the presages because they are dark side Force users who purposefully look for visions so they can act on them. They're basically Minority Report.
Okay. Well, that's a great idea. Fucking use the future to detect crime before it happens.
Except the presages also want to use it to just be in control of things. But the Minority Report is let's just use it to detect crime before it happens and arrest people before they've actually done anything, which goes against the concept of arresting people because they haven't done anything. And in Minority Report, you can't confirm that the visions are 100% correct. Same thing here.
Yeah. What was it? Oh yeah, I do remember briefly chatting with you in the Discord at the time while reading through it. I remember hearing when they go, because Sifo gets a vision of a planet being on fire.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And
the farm world.
And they're like, see, everything's fine. We have total environmental control. I'm like, that is the most arrogant thing I've heard anyone ever say in my life.
Yeah, it's a farm world, but it's specifically for Bacta.
Yeah.
So they which is very important. It's very important to the galaxy.
Yes.
Because it is how you heal people. It is medicine. And so we get, and it's something that's brought up at the end when Dooku finally leaves the Jedi Order, that there is a discrepancy between how the Jedi act on certain things. And even on that particular scenario, the Jedi didn't want to act. Lean Kastana and Dooku basically force the rest of the Jedi to act. Because Lean and Dooku go, well, we're going to go check it out anyways.
They're like,
because the council said no, don't let us meditate on it, and then they were like, but what if something happens while we're waiting?
Yeah.
Which it turns out, yeah, something would have happened while they were waiting if they had waited.
Like, what if we just went and did it anyway?
Because like they go immediately, which implies, and it happens immediately while they're there, which implies that it was gonna happen. Like, whether or not Dooku and Lean were there, because there's no effect that they caused. Like, usually you can argue in a Vision type scenario, oh, you caused this to happen by you sped it up by doing something.
Yeah.
This is not the case.
They get there and
it's
shit
already
immediately happens.
Like, it's already going badly. It's just nobody knows yet.
Yeah.
Because basically they claim that they can control like the weather events around them, which is why they're able to prevent like the crops from going bad or anything like that, or any malfunctions that normally would happen. Something they can't stop. Sunspots.
Yep. Nope.
Can't stop a sunspot.
You thought you could, but you can't.
Because that's not technically a weather thing. That is just that's just a space, solar sort of situation.
Yeah, that's a celestial event.
Yeah, so yeah, causes a blackout of their power, which unfortunately all of their homes are built on like pillar towers.
Yep.
So that way they just. I think the smart thing was doing that. I think that was the smart part, was having those housings that way. Although they should have been on stronger platforms, obviously, as we see. Because the reason they do that is so that way they can have as much agricultural space as possible for the Bacta. Unfortunately, if power goes off like it did, everything collapses, and so people died. Thankfully, Dooku and Sifo were barely able to get out of it.
Yeah,
because Sifo did show up with Yoda eventually.
They were able to get some like sick hospital children out of the way. As well.
So they saved some people, but a lot of people died. But yeah,
Dooku's leg got broke.
Yeah.
Dooku's kind of, in terms of injuries, goes through it in this book.
Yeah, he's kind of, well, because we got to get to old man Dooku pretty quickly. Even though this spans like 80 years of Star Wars.
Like, he gets his arm broke at one point. The hospital breaks his leg. I think he breaks an arm again.
But I was going to talk about the framing device. Because while 80 years does take place over this, the main book takes place only a year. Like, the main thing is only a year before Attack of the Clones. And so, because it's Ventress looking into stuff, like, just before the events of Attack of the Clones, and him basically shaping her to be his assassin. Yeah. Because can't be his apprentice, because rule of 2, but can be his assassin. Because that doesn't break the rules.
Yeah. Sith workaround. There's so many like.
Well, it's because the reason for that is because then secretly the apprentice can start training his apprentice and then be ready to already have an apprentice when he kills the master.
Yep.
But nobody does that to Sidious. Nobody bothers to kill him.
Yep.
Or even like Dooku doesn't try ever that we've seen. Maul at least has attempted. Maul we know has attempted. Dooku's never really tried. Vader absolutely has tried so many fucking times. That's literally what every Darth Vader comic is about.
It's like, I'm gonna kill him. As soon as I can, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. I hate him so much.
Literally every Darth Vader comic is about him trying to find a way to kill Palpatine. So yeah, 2 out of 3 apprentices tried. But yeah,
I do like how Ventress, like Kai, is like.
So I am curious on your
with her as it goes.
I am curious on your thoughts on Kai. So we get Kai, who was the one that saved Ventress as a child from enslavers, but then died himself before being able to bring her to the Jedi Temple. Because they were kind of stranded on the world they were on. Mixed with, kind of not wanting to go, as we kind of learned from this. Um, but we already knew about Kai from Clone Wars because Ventress flashbacks we see Kai die. Is Kai actually a Force ghost in her head, or is this just her conscience?
I'm not sure. Because he knows things
That he shouldn't?
that he shouldn't.
If he's a conscience,
Yeah.
right?
But on the other hand,
The end of the play makes it implied that he was just Ventress's conscience,
Yeah.
because Dooku's like, nah, he's not real. But also, it's like, is Dooku lying to her? I go on the operation that it actually is Kai. I like to listen to it on that operation, and I think it's a fun listen when you go with that headset. But also, it's a fun way either way, because like trying to figure out is also a fun head space to be in, because it's like, is he not?
the reason why it's like messing with me is because we've already like been in a similar situation in like the High Republic where I'm like, I know for a fact this is a thing that can happen because ghosts just fucking talk to people in Star Wars.
Yeah, they don't care.
Like that's just a thing that they can do. So I'm not sure.
So maybe I go with yes. I think it is him. I think it's Kai. I do think though that he is officially gone once Dooku's.
Yeah, at the end of it, he's definitely gone, regardless of what he is.
Yeah, like I think Dooku silences it.
Like, hey, stop fucking talking to ghosts.
You talk to me. I'm your master now, not them.
Yep, they're gone.
Yeah. I also think Ventress's. I think we see Ventress's. I shouldn't say no way back because we do realize she does redeem herself later in Clone Wars, obviously. But because she turns out to be a good character, like a good. Well, not in Clone Wars, but in something that we'll read later.
Ventress
but
is like,
I think her
I'd
no
go
way.
somewhere if I knew where the fuck to go.
But I think her like irredeemable moment, like when she truly becomes dark side. You know what I mean? Because they say, oh, when you killed those bandits, that the people that
like,
killed Kai. I don't think that's her dark side moment. I do think that's her having a dark side moment, but it's not her capital D dark side moment. If that makes sense, right? You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like Anakin has multiple lowercase dark side moments, but his uppercase dark side moment is obviously Order 66.
yeah.
Like that is his capital D.
That is the like. Ooh.
That is, it's going to be hard for you to redeem yourself from
Yeah.
this point. I think Ventress's is when she kills Jinza.
I was like, I had a moment of like, okay,
Because she doesn't have anybody, like, there's nobody that is important enough to her for there to be a sacrifice on the normal side of, like, normally your sacrifice would be to kill somebody that's important to you, right?
Yeah.
That would be your dark side moment. But he doesn't, she doesn't have that. Kai would be the closest to that, and maybe her removing Kai is her dark side moment.
yeah,
But also maybe Jinza, because that's her first time truly assassinating somebody who's done literally nothing. Literally nothing. The rest of the book or play is her killing people that either kind of deserve it or are people that are actually hostile to her in some way. Jinza literally did nothing.
Jinza didn't do anything. She just wanted to have a like, hey bro, chill conversation with Dooku.
It's definitely Dooku's capital D moment.
Yeah.
That is his dark side moment. Is him ordering for Jinza's death, because that's his last. Because he says it. It's his last piece of connection to being who he used to be, which was this idealistic knight. Because that's what he was. He was a very idealistic Jedi Knight, right? He very much held to the ideals, which is why he disagreed with the Council a lot. It's similar to the Qui-Gon effect, where Qui-Gon very much is like, we must follow the living force, and versus the
follow the spirit of the law as opposed to the writ.
yeah, and so I think we see it successfully passed down to Qui-Gon, and we see it when it's done correctly, which is Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon is when you take those ideas and you apply them correctly. Dooku is when you lose faith entirely and are still holding those ideals, and so you're trying to force those ideals, but you have no faith in the system that those ideals are connected to. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas Qui-Gon still has faith in the system. He just has to work in the system to get his ideals to work, and we see that a lot of the times it does when Qui-Gon does it. Like, it does work a lot of the time. The council, while they may not immediately listen, they'll learn their lesson whenever Qui-Gon is the one bringing this information. But anytime Dooku does it, Dooku is a little bit too headstrong. I think he's very stubborn. That's kind of one of his major flaws is he's stubborn to a fault.
Negotiation is not one of his strong suits, because he is so ready to just be like, you know what, fuck this. You do what I tell you to.
And while there is a heavy argument that people have that Dooku is the least Sith, he's very much still a Sith. He very much, he enjoys the thing that people ignore is that he is still power hungry.
Oh yeah.
He is still very much a power hungry individual, which is why he falls at the end of the day. Because he could have just let Jinza be in charge of Sereno.
Yeah, that was an option.
And honestly, Jinza would have been the perfect fit for leadership. She would have led them to a better path. Because the problem with Sereno is the Sereno family, the main house, the main Sereno house. We don't ever get a last name for these people, so I guess because it's just Dooku of Sereno. So like,
yeah.
But I figure if they're House Sereno, then Sereno must be logically their last name. But we never confirm that. But like logically, that makes sense.
Yep.
So his dad Gora, right?
Yeah.
Gora. He is the worst of the worst.
He sucks so much.
He's like, I left my son out to die to wolves because he's a force sensitive, and I think they're abominations.
Yep.
Which is actually very different from Legends. So Gora in Legends still an asshole, but actually very proud that his son is in the Jedi ranks because he's like, oh, I can use that because force power. That's a lot of power.
That's good.
That's good. I'm proud of my son for being there. But he's still an asshole. This one is very much a little bit racist there, Pops.
Yeah.
Going as far as to go, he's not my son.
Yeah.
After he saved his sister.
I thought I told you to take this.
Bastard, essentially.
Yeah, I was going...
That's how Gora feels, anyways.
Take this fucking bastard away, Yoda. You said you'd never bring him back, but you did. Why the fuck is he here?
But we learned that the problem with Sereno is Gora is trying to do the in game, like the what is it? He's very capitalistic, so he's going for that late stage capitalism, which is, we don't make anybody work, but you're not getting any money because of that. And I have droids do all the work because it's free for me to do that.
Yep.
But it also means all of you are poor. Suck it.
Basically.
Which makes Sereno's economy shit. And actually, the next time Dooku comes home, it's because of an uprising about that.
Yeah.
Because they... well, no, it wasn't for that. It was for, like, a negotiation of something else. But, like, that became part of it.
That was part of it. It's because his mom died.
Yeah, he was there for his mom's funeral, but then it becomes a riot over over that.
Meanwhile, after a certain point, Dooku only tells Sifo Dyas, hey, I've been keeping in contact with my sister all these years. Everyone finds out in a big kerfuffle after some other stuff happens.
And so basically him going to see his mom is like the last thing.
Yeah.
They're like,
They're
hey,
like,
we know about your communications. We're going to stop that. You're allowed to go to your mom's funeral, but that's the last time.
And this is one of my fuck off, this is a family matter, Jedi. Mind yourself.
But theoretically also, if Dooku was following the Jedi way, he should have not been involved at all.
I'm like, to me, it's like...
So it's a mixture of things. Like, Dooku should not have been involved at all, but also, yeah, at this point he knows. So what's to stop him?
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird
For me, it's
situation.
like, why are you getting mad that he's having a phone call?
I think the problem is Dooku is very much attached, though. Not, we see that his attachment is too strong. Because that is something we see a lot in this, is that he has too strong of attachments. It's the Anakin situation where it's okay to love somebody, it's okay to care about people, but when you let those attachments guide you in everything you do, which is Dooku's issue in this play, that's the issue. And I think they can't confirm that he's doing that, but anytime Sereno does come up, he's like, we should get involved, and they're like, oh, we don't know the whole situation. Which, in the case of the final straw, I feel like the council is half correct. It's a situation of, yes, we should be saving those people from what's going on, but also, the leadership is the reason that it's happening. And the leadership has not asked for our help. Ramil didn't ask for help. Because at this point, Ramil's in charge of Sereno, because Gora died. Yeah,
He died.
Ramil's worse.
Ramil...
Somehow worse than Dad.
Yeah.
Ramil's like, hey, you know that late stage capitalism thing? We're going to really increase that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to increase that to where even my bodyguards are robots. And then the other houses are like, well, what are we going to do? He's like, suck it.
You'll figure it out, loser. That's what he goes.
And so the other houses are like, well, I guess we'll hire mercenaries. And then, surprise, surprise, the mercenaries turn on them.
Mm-hmm.
They take the money and turn on them.
Yep. It's like, you know who's got a bigger fucking pocketbook, says Ramil? Me.
Except not really, because we learned that, like, House Sereno is pretty broke. In fact, he has not paid his taxes, essentially, to the Republic. So the Republic's like, we're just going to stay out of this, because they haven't paid their taxes.
They're like, fuck them.
Which is ironic, because it's just as Dooku was like, yeah, the Jedi shouldn't really be getting involved with things. In fact, the Republic should be able to handle its own shit. But then he immediately goes, actually, I'm going to handle this.
You're going to handle this. Be right back.
Because he was literally just he was just petitioning the Republic for them to start building up their own defenses for the Outer Rim.
And he's like, hey, have you noticed all this massive amount of crime that's happening? And they're like...
Yeah, but it's not affecting us.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but the Jedi can't keep resolving these issues by ourselves. There are only so many of us.
Yeah.
And they're like, too bad.
He's like...
They don't give us enough money.
He essentially storms out.
He's like, you're just upset because if they were to have the defenses they need, then that'll actually create competition in the capitalist society of the Republic.
Yeah.
And they're like, nuh-uh.
He's like, I'm fucking right, and no one wants to admit it.
And they're just like, nuh-uh. Because they don't have a better response.
Yeah,
They're
like, I'm just gonna leave now before I get mad.
Yeah, because he's like, I know I'm right, because that's not a great response to what I just said.
God. Also, I know this is a side thing. The previous librarian for the Jedi Archive, who was not Jocasta Nu.
Correct.
Fuck that bitch. She sucks. Like,
I am curious what happened to Braylon after this, because Braylon's the one that helps Dooku leave Sereno. Because Braylon's like, hey, I know you turned my son and me in, but we're cool. And, because I'm still trying to get back in the Jedi's graces after that. But, so I can't give you a ship anymore. I was going to give you a ship, but since things went sideways, Lean will do it.
yeah.
But I'll help you get... I was the one who reached out to Lean, so I still helped.
It's very much a, well, I can't do anything on my end on the sly, but I can point you in the right direction.
And then look away.
Yep. They're like, "Hey, did you see Dooku?" He's like, "Oh yeah, he's out for coffee or something."
Yeah, I forgot about Braylon's shadiness though. Like, I know that she's not a great person at the start because she's very much critical of Dooku and Sifo for no reason.
Yeah.
When they're like younger.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, why are you fucking doing this right now?
But then, like, I was like, oh yeah, she's a rat's mom. And then, yeah. So we learned Seekers have always acted weird. At least two of them, anyways. Braylon and Sifo. Although, I was joking with you, I was like, Sifo is just Hamilton. He's just always running out of time.
It was a set amount of time to fucking set up solutions to these problems while I'm still lucid enough to do it.
He's like, everything I have ever seen has come true. Holy shit. There's a war coming. How do I stop this?
How do I do?
Or at least, how do I prepare for it?
Yeah.
Because he shared, the only time that there's a shared vision, the only time that he doesn't get a 100% accurate vision is when they have the shared vision with the presages. Because it's him, Lean, and Dooku that share that one. And then Dooku zaps him in his vision.
Fucking evil Moss.
Yeah. Poor Sifo getting blasted by Dooku, by the way. Because Dooku can't control it. He's like, I'm having visions that I'm shocking people. And it's just like, no, bro, you are shocking people.
Yep.
You're shocking your best friend / roommate. Because there's that implication that they were. There's like a very fans have that slight implication that is this romantic or are they just really good friends? Because it's really hard to tell with Dooku and Sifo.
It's a little bit
it's a little hard to tell. Are they roommates or roommates? They're neither. Technically, they're neither because Sifo's always running off with Lean. Sifo doesn't have time to be roommates with Dooku.
Sifo, I'm running out of time for fucking everything, man.
Except me.
Except me. I'm going crazy over here.
But because the shared vision is interesting because we get a lot of stuff that is gonna happen, but then we get some wild shit that does not happen whatsoever, like the Jedi creating their own theocracy. Wild. I don't know if under Yoda's supervision that would ever happen. I don't think that would ever happen.
I don't think it would happen. But that is a fucking crazy thing to think.
Jedi theocracy, just straight up overthrowing the Republic. No. I'm like, I don't think Yoda or Mace would allow that.
Yeah.
So, it'd be interesting. It's a definitely interesting what if, but I don't think it would happen ever. And obviously, it does not happen in the canon timeline. But I don't see a timeline where that makes sense. And even Dooku's like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. even
what
Dooku's
nonsense is this?
Yeah, he's like, what bullshittery is this? What's some of the other visions at that one? He gets some visions of Qui-Gon before Qui-Gon's a thing. They see Order 66.
Yeah. Oof. Ouch.
Which is the heavy thing that Sifo carries with him. He is trying hard to prevent that one. Also, Sifo sees people chanting Dooku's name. Which does happen.
That does happen.
That's really the big ones.
Yeah.
That's really the big visions that they have. And so...
earlier in the book, there apparently, once again, the Jedi just love keeping evil artifact shit around.
Oh, when they're... Yeah, so in the Jedi archives, there is a locked part of... It's the forbidden part of the archive. And it's basically where they hold the dangerous artifacts and books. And it's not really for them to learn how to use these things. The Jedi Masters, and it's only for council members that are masters. So they have to be Jedi Masters and council members. That's the only way you can legally look into this archive. And it's really not to learn anything from it other than how to be aware of, like, the dark side influence. And it's really more of a This is how we know dark side shit when it happens. It's not so that way they learn how to use whatever that thing is teaching.
There's also it's supposed to. There's only supposed to be one way in. The other way in is through the library. And they're like, oh, this is supposed to be sealed up after, like, Dooku and Sifo were fucking around in there.
Still not sealed up.
Still not sealed up. They're like, we thought we put all of these safeguards in place.
Yeah, because the one time Dooku and Sifo break in, Sifo gets hurt.
Sifo gets hurt.
Because Dooku uses the Force on him.
Because Dooku uses the Force on him and freaks out.
Yeah, because he thinks he hears a monster, and he's correct.
He is correct.
He does feel something in the Force. And it's also the first time they meet Lean, is during that. Because that's when Lean's like, yeah, these kids are pretty strong in the Force. And they have good intuition when it comes to the dark side. I'm interested in them.
We'll keep an eye on them.
Because Lean's whole thing is, she is Sifo before Sifo. Her whole thing is trying to prevent the return of the Sith.
And everyone's like, dude, they're not coming back. And she is like, we don't know that. Throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
She's like, we may have helped them by driving them to near extinction.
Yeah, we may have just sped them into hiding, but we can't confirm. Okay, you're right. Wait, no. That's not. Oh, is that his real name? No. Okay. You're right. But you gotta admit, though, that actor did make him sound...
Yeah.
We were talking voice acting in house. Like, some of the actors, Liam, like, they make the Irish Liam Neeson sound very Scottish for Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon is very Scottish in this. But.
Alright. Let's see what else.
Honestly, that's the highlights of it. I guess we could talk about the ending, because that's the last thing to really talk about.
This has no relevance to the plot.
Go ahead, though.
However, Rael Averross does sound like he's going to try to convince you to buy, like, a Ford pickup.
So he's a car salesman?
No, like, he sounds like the narrator for the Ford commercials.
Oh, yeah. He does sound like he's, like, a good old country boy.
Like...
He sounds like a good old country boy. Also confirmed he's a cougar chaser.
Yeah.
Like, we already know he's a ladies' man, because Master and Apprentice already taught us that. But, because him and Elzar Man, they are ladies' men. But, Rail is like, he sees Lean Castana, and he's like, I'd hit that. And Dooku has to be like, bro, you can't say that.
You can't say that. And he's like, yeah, what about it?
What's gonna stop me?
It's gonna stop me. Nothing stopped me from trying before.
Even me taking that, their vow of celibacy.
That can't stop me. I don't know what those words mean. Said Rail.
Rail said, I'm not smart enough to know what celibacy means, so I'm just gonna fuck everything.
Anyhow, my apprentice is dead. I'm gonna go look after my surrogate daughter.
Yeah, because this takes place immediately prior to Master and Apprentice, that section of the flashback. But I don't know how far after.
Where the fuck is this man?
Because what is Qui-Gon's not dead yet.
No, Qui-Gon isn't dead yet.
So it still has to take place before Episode 1, because they mention at the end, because he tells Sifo, hey, tell Qui-Gon and Rail, I'm proud of them, and to let the Force guide them.
I'm proud of them. They did a good job. Why the fuck can't you tell me? He's like,
because I'm staying.
I'm staying.
Once again, showing his power-hungry nature, because once again, he could have just let Jinzo lead.
He really could have.
Because Jinzo was set to be the best leader out of the siblings. Because Jinzo was like, I actually care about the people. So the things that you're fighting for, I'm fighting for, Dooku. Also, I'm not a Jedi, so I can stay here and it not be a problem. And the other houses would back me.
Mm-hmm.
Without me having to be forceful about it. Whereas Dooku's obviously going to have to.
Because Serenians typically do not enjoy the company of Force users.
They also don't like outsiders, really.
That too.
And Dooku, while a Serenian, is an outsider to them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mostly because of like the planet's history.
Yeah, and just because they don't like Force users in general because they had to fight off Sith. They were one of the first people to be like, "Fuck the Sith."
They went, "Don't ever come back here," essentially.
And so they ended up not liking any Force users in the process. Not because the Jedi are bad, but because, and they don't think the Jedi are bad. They just don't want another Sith situation.
Like, we don't want to deal with any of that shit.
And so, that would be a cool one shot. The Serenian Sith War. That'd be a cool one shot.
Oh yeah, by the way, there's this weird creature called the Tirataka that Dooku accidentally woke up.
Yeah, that's
missing the first time.
That's the thing in the archive that we were talking
about. There's a painting in Sereno and he touches it and then everything gets fucky.
Yeah, that's when he kind of keeps just having the sound of the monster roaring.
Yep.
In him. Kevin Scott and George Mann really know how to write like horror within their non-horror genre stuff. They're like, who wants a little bit of horror in their Star Wars? Kevin Scott though is really good. I like. I mean, he's part of the High Republic team, so we like all of the people on that team. But we like Kevin Scott. We like George Mann. We like DJO, Justina Ireland, and Claudia and them. You know, I think I'm just gonna end up naming all the High Republic authors. No, but for real though, Kevin Scott did a really good job with this,
yes.
And I think also the cast for the audio play did a really good job. Like they brought it to life. The thing I forgot before we talk about the ending, the thing I forgot was how much they described things in this one, because that does seem to be a thing that the future audio dramas kind of toned down doing, which is like describing every little thing going on, because they used Ventress as a narrator to be like, and then I was looking directly at their face, like so that way you can kind of visualize it more. But the other audio dramas kind of just expect you to kind of visualize that on your own and kind of come up with your own mental picture, which I don't know if I'm for or against either version. I know you're probably more for how this one was, though.
Yeah.
Because I know you have a tougher time visualizing things if they don't spell it out in a way. So
I'm also someone who will just take things at face value.
Like that Sifo Dyas is.
Yeah, that Sifo Dyas
is Braylon's son.
Braylon's son.
Even though Sifo's nowhere near in the scene. Yeah. He's not even on this fucking planet. Probably not even in the same region.
Probably not.
He's probably out in the Outer Rims doing some garbage thing and looking for Sith artifacts with Lean. Also, poor Lean's bird.
Yep.
It's basically a falcon, and she gives a falcon essentially to Dooku to watch over because she's like, we can't bring it on in the adventures because it doesn't like Sifo. It kind of gets skittish around him.
Yeah.
Which is fair, because Sifo will go off at any moment. He will have an episode after being, like, fine for a day. And then he'll have an episode of visions. And so, it's fair. And so he keeps the Falcon. And then the Falcon dies during that investigation where we find out the truth about Aerith and Braylon. And although we also kind of know that Arath has, like, a gambling problem because of a previous adventure they have, where Qui-Gon tricks him into admitting that he's... God. Stop. Qui-Gon's like, hey, you want to play some cards?
He's like, sure.
Yeah, I'll take this stupid apprentice's money. They don't know how to play cards. Sure, it's not even a sure. He's absolutely okay with doing this. Like, there is no hesitation on Arath's mind about this. Arath's like, hell yeah, I'll steal this kid's money. And then Qui-Gon shows up, and then the rest of the Jedi show up, and they're like, we tricked ya.
We tricked you, and it's like, are we going to report this to the council? And they're like...
Not if you'd give us back the thing that you stole.
Yeah, essentially.
Because he stole something so that way he could pay off his debts.
Yep.
Which caused a conflict between two intergalactic planets that were trying to negotiate a
Caused
peace
slight
treaty.
diplomatic incident.
Yeah. Arath's diplomatic immunity has been revoked.
Yeah. Sure fucking has. Also, Arath is such an asshole.
I mean, even as a kid, he wasn't great.
Yeah.
Making fun of Dooku. At least he didn't call him Doo-Doo. That would have been a very easy kid nickname to like throw onto Dooku. I'm surprised nobody did. I think I think he gives him Dookie though at one point.
Probably.
Which that one's pretty close to.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, because Arath is just a mocking person, he probably just turned to Dooku one day and went, "Rich boy," and walked away.
So let's talk about the ending, and then that way we can kind of wrap up this episode, because you've got places to be, and I want to make sure you get there in time. We're doing good on time, but I just want to make sure we stay on time. This is a rare time where we have to stay on topic.
Yeah. God, I would love to go on a tangent. I can't because
it's gonna be even worse next week because it's gonna be a bigger topic, which means no tangents next week either.
Damn it all.
And so ending. Dooku gets a message from Jinza, who he's been out of communication with for a few years now because he kept to his word of not really reaching out.
Yeah.
Also, like the last time they ran into each other, Jinza was pissed at him, which was at Mom's funeral, because he basically beat up Dad, and then she was like, "Not cool."
It's slight clarification. He knocked over like their mom's casket.
Oh yeah, he knocked over Mom's casket while beating up Dad.
No, Dad beat the shit out of him.
Well,
he didn't fight back.
He did
because
I
he's
thought
like, I could.
I thought he did fight back.
Mm-mm.
He just verbally fought back. Because he did argue a hell.
He did argue.
He was loud too. He was yelling at Dad.
He did argue.
He yelled at Gora.
And then the rioters pulled up because they were mad about the droid working.
And
capitalism.
I think he did kind of get in between Gora, because I think there was a part of it where there's a reason why I don't think Gora knocked him into Mom's casket. I think he did something that caused that to happen. I can't remember the specifics. Anyways, because otherwise then you could blame Gora, but Gora wasn't the one that knocked Dooku into it, so Dooku gets the blame.
Yeah.
But also I think it is partially like, hey, you probably shouldn't have started that with Dad too, because that's what led to what happened. So they stay out of contact because of that. But Jinzo finally reaches out and is like, hey, we got a problem. Ever since our brother took over, shit.
Yep.
So yeah, they find out about the whole thing that we talked about with the mercenaries being hired by the houses. Mercenaries betray the houses. Brother doesn't want to do shit about it because it doesn't benefit him to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so Jinza sent the droid to go contact them because they were trying to do it properly through the Republic, but the Republic was like, you haven't paid your taxes.
So no.
And then the Jedi were like, well, we can't get involved with if the Republic's isn't really getting involved because there's no reason for us to do it. And Dooku's like, what? We're not gonna help people that are in trouble?
Why do we care if the Republic is getting involved or not?
We as Jedi should be able to operate separately. And they're like, but that's bad optics. And he's like, fuck you, I'm out.
Fuck you, I'm going home.
He doesn't actually say that because he lies to them. He says he's taking the droid back to a ship, so he can.
I've decided to meditate. How long are you gonna meditate? Oh, I don't know. How long does it take me to get to Sereno?
Yeah. So they get to Sereno. Dooku takes control of Monster that he's been having visions of the whole time.
Yep.
And then uses that to fight back against the mercenaries and saves the day, but also almost gets some civilians killed in the process.
Woo.
Woo-ish.
Woo-ish. I do feel bad for Ramil because this is a very bad...
Oh yeah, he just straight up brutally kills Ramil.
This is a very bad type matchup for you, Ramil, considering your metal body against a guy notorious for spamming lightning.
Yeah, Ramil's like, hey, you want to talk things over, brother? And Dooku's like, nope, I don't got a brother.
Yep.
Dead.
It's like, you had so many chances.
This is also the ending where this is the part that Jinza's telling Ventress about, because Jinza is kind of like, yeah, Dooku's changed a lot, and he's not really the brother I knew, because the brother she knew, because Jinza was the one keeping Dooku on track. Strangely enough, if they had kept in communication, Dooku probably might have turned out better. Maybe. Problem is,
we didn't get that.
Well, we also can't. Yeah, we can't prove one way or the other. But it seems more likely that Jinza was kind of his center, and was kind of being like, because she would always be the one that would bring up the how things should go, and Dooku would be like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Maybe I should operate that way." Whereas normally Dooku would kind of just go very the Serenian way, House Sereno way of power. There's also that scene where he makes Qui-Gon use a torture device on him just for power's sake. He really fucked up Qui-Gon.
Yeah. Qui-Gon, like, sitting, I don't know, next to... What's another Jedi that'd be an apprentice at the time?
Kyneric.
Yeah, he's just sitting next to him. He's like, I don't know, man. My weird not dad, he had me, like, throw on some bandages and fucking hit him with, like, a shock stick for a while.
Kai's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, dude, it's weird.
Yeah, I'm surprised Qui-Gon didn't suppress all of this.
That reminds me.
Yeah,
Yoda brings up that
Dooku's able to
suppresses his memories.
Not that it matters, because he, like, records all of them.
Yeah. Which is, I'm like, what the fuck kind of training did Yoda put
I don't think
through?
Yoda taught him that.
Does Dooku just have his own, like...
I think Dooku learned that on his own. Because, like, that is not something Yoda, I feel like, would teach Dooku to do.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. Because that shit happens when he's...
After he's already left the apprenticeship of Yoda?
No, before.
Okay.
Before he's an apprentice.
Oh, yeah.
Because it happens when...
Is that when they're looking at the archive stuff? When him and Sci-Fi are looking at that old text?
Yeah, because Dooku blocks that out. He doesn't... After the vision, he doesn't know what the fuck he did.
Yeah.
Sci-Fi knows.
Yeah.
And so does everybody else, but he doesn't. And no one ever talks to him about it.
Yeah, I think Dooku is just trying to separate himself from the evil he does. Because it's just like, Dooku, you shouldn't be doing this. Okay. I don't remember doing it. It's like, bro, you still did it. No, I didn't. I don't remember.
What are you talking about? It never happened.
But yeah, so ending, he kills Ramil. And then basically Sifo and Lean are like, okay, so we can go now, right? He's like, nah, I'm not going. In fact, let me call Yoda. I have Jinza's version of the Hollow because I left mine with Yoda. So I'm gonna call Yoda and basically give not even my 2 weeks. I'm just quitting. I'm hard quitting.
Quit.
Yeah, he's doing a hard quit. He's not giving 2 weeks notice. He's just like, I'm done. And Yoda's like, if you think so. Which, once again, shows that the Jedi are not really a cult.
You can leave.
You can leave freely. They don't, as long as you are going about the right path, they don't care. Now, of course, Dooku obviously does not take the right path and becomes a problem, which is why they start to care. But normally they don't care. If you just go, hey, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Okay. In fact, you're still part of our family. That's why we're going to let you keep your lightsaber.
Anyway, good luck out there.
Yeah.
And he's like, surely...
To be fair, they always joke that he would be better in politics anyways.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, this makes sense.
Oh, this checks out.
And in fact, everybody thinks highly of him up until the end of Attack of the Clones. Because at the beginning of Attack of the Clones, Kiadi's like, nah, he's an idealist. That's it. He's just a political idealist. He's not a bad guy. So everybody thinks he's a good guy this whole time. Yeah. So, like, the Jedi are not bad. They think the best of Dooku. They're hoping for the best for Dooku. Unfortunately, Dooku as an adult makes terrible decisions of his own, and he's a grown man, so he made those decisions. There's nobody else to really blame for those decisions. So anybody who tries to be a Dooku apologist, you're kind of ignoring some of the facts.
Meanwhile, Duke, as I've made the joke before, Dooku, I've seen the problem. I can't fix it via the other means I've used, so therefore I shall become the problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Tales of the Jedi stuff all over again with the Dooku episodes. But yeah, so he stays, and then we go back to the present, where it turns out Dooku's been following Ventress the whole time. He's been laying all the hints for her on purpose, so that way she'd find Jinza, and then he's like, all right, final test, kill Jinza.
Yep, go on, kill her.
And so...
And Ventress is like...
She's hesitant, but she does it.
What?
Yeah, like, hesitantly, she does it.
Like, sure, I guess, I don't...
And then and then Dooku's like, oh yeah, by the way, I know about that thing in your head, get rid of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that weird ghost motherfucker, gotta go.
Kai's gotta go, we can't. He didn't help you. I did. And it's just like, well, shit.
Yeah.
Which that becomes a whole scene on its own, and it's, yeah. Also, I find it funny that the Order 66 vision is in scene 66. Which it was hard to tell that, but I could, because like for the audible version, it clumps scenes together. So it's like scene whatever through scene 66 for that one. And so that's the only reason I knew it was scene 66 when that scene happened, because the next scene started and it was scene 67 through whatever. And so I was like, oh, so that was scene 66. Interesting. So, but yeah, I give this a strong 8.5. Maybe even an 8. If I'm going to be more critical of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, if I'm more critical of it, it's an 8. But if I were to, like, be lenient, it's an 8.5. It's a pretty strong audio drama that really goes... I think it's a good character study. For sure. It's a good character study of Dooku and sort of Ventress. Like, while Ventress is the main character, she's not the character study. Not in this, anyways. We'll get some Ventress character study later. You're struggling to put a number?
Yeah. I was gonna give it a 7.
That sounds right. For you.
But I'm also like...
leaning towards 7.5.
Nah, I'm just gonna leave it as a 7.
Okay.
Like, it's not bad.
No. And I know... I think some people would freak out, but we've discussed this. For you, a 7 is good. 7 is... This was good.
When the lowest has been a 4, a 7 seems pretty good.
7 is... This was a good, enjoyable thing for you. 6 would be like that it's bare bones, I guess, for you. Like, that's like when it's just barely passing is a 6. And then, like, be under that is when it's like, meh. So I mean, because everybody forgets that 7 is a C. That's a C.
Yeah, C plus.
Yeah, like that's a good number to get. So I mean, you're passing in a it's average passing, but it's still a D is kind of becoming the average in reality if we're being but so C is good. So yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe, all that good shit wherever you're watching. Probably YouTube, since this is a pre-recorded episode. You can find us on youtube.com/Escape Reality Films. We are also on Twitch and Kick and TikTok at Escape Reality Films. Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at caleb.lockwood. Excuse me. And then at Twitter at Escape Reality 94. Also, check out our Patreon if you really enjoy our content. And that can be at Escape Reality Films as well. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley, one of our patrons.
Thank you.
There you can check out our content, our YouTube content, before it is released publicly on YouTube, including currently the podcast. The podcast episodes are going up at least a day early, if not a little bit sooner. We're trying to get them at least a day early. for y'all since we're pre-recording. Um, and then that's it for that, really, because I guess there's still some Grim Hollow episodes up there if you're into D&D. But all the acquisition stuff is up to date on YouTube. So at the moment, so yeah. No new acquisitions episodes at the moment. Speaking of D&D,
Hey, every Sunday from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time, you can catch me and some friends of ours over at Trials of Nebu on YouTube at the Steam Dungeon. Whole party is roughly within, I don't know, about 100 feet of each other.
okay, so everybody's actually about to run into each other finally.
Yeah. I still can't join because I'm fucking working all the time.
But hey, maybe you can tell him about what's going on if you
Maybe.
watch the show.
Maybe. I'll leave some instructions for them.
Yeah. It's Trials of Naboo
Mm-hmm.
on the Steam Dungeon on YouTube, and 5 to 7 Central Standard Time on Sundays.
Yep.
Hey, I got it. You know, I feels like I should already get this, but sometimes I forget, even while he said it. Thankfully, the coffee is in me today. And so yeah, that's it for this week. Next week, we're gonna talk about the entire Dark Droids event, crossover event, which is why it's gonna be a long episode.
I'm gonna have to read a bit. I started earlier today.
Yeah, that's why no tangents. Like, I told him, like, as soon as you finish Dooku, you might want me to just send you the next thing, because I feel like this is gonna give War of the Bounty Hunters a run for its money.
For longest one we've done.
I'm worried, because what Dark Droids is... I can look at how many pages it is right now. So,
I think it's 734 in total.
That sounds right. It's loading. It takes a minute to load. That's how many pages there are in this fucker.
Mm-hmm. I'm about 70 pages in.
Okay. So you've read like 3 issues maybe.
Mm-hmm.
3 to 4. Because it's like, what? Every issue is about 20-ish pages. Give or take.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've read like 3.5 maybe. It's taking its time. It's long. It's long. That's all. Yeah, it's the point, because it's all of the ongoings crossing over, plus 2 miniseries in it, because it's got the Afro Bounty Hunters, Star Wars Mainline, Vader, plus a D Squad miniseries, and then the Dark Droids miniseries itself, like the main miniseries for the event. And both miniseries, I think, are 5 issues each. So, plus like a one-shot thing in between at the start. I think that's like one of the first things at the start is one of the... It's either like the first thing or the second thing is like a one-shot thing. It's pretty short. It's just like explaining like what's up with the living, with the droid thing. Like, so... this one's gonna be an interesting episode, I think, because the Dark Droids arc is pretty controversial in terms of like split of people liking or hating it.
Okay.
So this will be an interesting episode next week.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you all for watching. We will see you all next week. Have a good one. I've spoken.
I am safe.